Last time we had an interesting topic. We reviewed a ridiculous new bill, the FURRIES Act, and the issues that could arise from passing such a bill. We also discussed the non-human-like behaviors highlighted in the bill, such as the whole debunked litter box in the bathroom thing, which once again were lies and fabrications that were made up by trolls on the internet to make fun of the furry fandom, and then later taken seriously by elected Republican officials, which should be really concerning. Now we have further proof that these claims about the litter boxes and the non-human behaviors mentioned in the bill were lies and conspiracies. And the Republican representative, Stan Jervis, admitted that he did not look into these claims, as well as alluded to the fact that they may be conspiracies. Hello everybody, your friendly neighborhood demonic Ravenwolf October is back with another interesting topic, so let us get into it. This is kind of a follow-up video to my first video where I go over the bill itself, so if you haven't seen that, I'll include a link in the description below. For those who are not aware, I guess I'll give you a little synopsis about what is occurring. The Texas Legislature wants to pass a bill that has a bunch of non-existent claims about what it describes as non-human behavior that is occurring in Texas schools. Some of these non-human behaviors that the bill describes is barking, meowing, and licking oneself. And, of course, the ultimate false claim, the use of litter boxes in bathrooms. The language of the bill is trying to make it seem like these fabricated non-human behaviors are a great issue in Texas schools, and trying to frame it as actual concerning behavioral issues by putting it alongside actual behavioral issues such as sexual harassment and bullying. The legislature is trying to legitimize these fabricated non-human behaviors in schools as actual issues. Now, as I've stated in the previous video, I'm going to say that putting non-existent issues next to real issues kind of delegitimizes the actual issues. Especially when you put an exemption for these non-human behaviors during certain times of the year when you absolutely wouldn't do that with any other problematic behavior. Not to mention, it is also very insulting to people who have actually been victims of sexual harassment and bullying. So, how can we find out that they are intentionally lying? I mean, it's a pretty bold claim to make, right? After all, maybe they think this is a legitimate issue in schools. And like the conservative media they surround themselves with, the Texas legislature itself might also be misinformed, right? That's plausible, right? Although I believe that conservative media and elected officials who are conservative are terribly researched, simply being misinformed is not what's going on in this case. In fact, Republican conservatives have admitted in the past that the false claim about litter boxes in the bathrooms at schools was just that, a false claim, and had to kind of backpedal and claim they didn't actually say that. So I have to say, they are fully aware that this is not true. And now today we have further evidence that we are going to go over in a video that continuously shows that the conservative Republicans in the state of Texas have no idea what they're talking about. In this Texas legislation meeting, where they're going to discuss the bill, the FURRIES Act, Democrat Representative James Tallarico straight up does the one thing that seems to always destroy bills such as these, as well as conservative conspiracy theories. He asks questions.
Chair recognizes Representative Tallarico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative Curtis, for being here. I know we've been joking about this bill, and I agree this bill is a joke, but the consequences for our students and our educators is not a joke. So I have a lot of questions that I want to try to get through.
So starting out of the gate, yes, this bill is definitely a terrible, terrible joke. And yes, there is a lot of terrible consequences to passing legislation like this. Because if any form of government passes a bill based off of false claims, then that means essentially nothing is off the table.
You claimed, quote, schools have been provided litter boxes for students identifying as animals, end quote, when you introduced this bill. Is that correct?
When did I do that?
That's a direct quote from your press release announcing the bill.
Provided litter boxes?
I'll read it to you again. The quote is, schools have even provided litter boxes for students identifying as animals. Do you recognize that as being one of your quotes?
I'll take you for your word.
Okay. Can you name a school where it has been confirmed that students are using litter boxes?
Well, what we do with this bill is we prevent that from happening, but what we don't take out, and I know we've talked about some active shooter situations, and there's been talk that this bill will ban the litter box for active school situations, and they're called the go buckets.
It is interesting that at first, Jurtis plays dumb by acting like he has no idea what Representative Tallarico is talking about, even though Jurtis probably clearly does. I think it's because Jurtis probably knows what's coming, and when Representative Tallarico does get to his point, he's gonna look like a fool, as of course we are about to see. Representative Tallarico then straight up asks about the claim of litter boxes in school bathrooms.
Not in the restrooms.
Okay. And respectfully, Representative Gertis, we bring bills that solve problems. And when you introduced this bill, you said schools have even provided litter boxes for students identifying as animals. I'm asking...
And that's what we've gotten some reports of. Did I go to these school districts and visit and see it with my own eyes? No.
Okay, so Jurtis, who is making the bold claim that he has received reports about litter boxes in school bathrooms, hasn't even investigated them. Because, of course, if you hear an unbelievable claim, why investigate further? I mean, seriously, dude, you're making a claim, you want to pass a bill based on these claims, and you're really not going to look into it or even consider going to the schools where this is supposedly happening? Wow, this is seriously absurd. How conceited you must be to literally think you shouldn't do that. Well, at the very least, you have the reports and claims with you, right? I mean, you said you had them, right? Right? I mean, after all, he's presenting this to a committee, right? So of course he has those reports. Well, as we're about to see, Representative Tallarico asks just that question.
And what school districts reported this?
That we got reports from?
Uh-huh.
We got reports from, well, Smith and Smithville confirmed they did not have one.
Yeah, because you mentioned Smithville in your layout.
Only does Jurtis have to admit that the school he has claimed had litter boxes does not, but it's been confirmed that they did not have one to begin with. Not to mention, on top of this, he doesn't have any actual reports of litter boxes in school bathrums.
Right.
As
That's
being
about
where you
the
heard
Furrie.
about
I
this.
never said that Smithville had a litter box. I want to be clear about that.
Okay, and I want to be clear that you cited Smithville in your layout and in your press release, but I have the minutes from last month's Smithville ISD school board meeting, which reads, quote, "At this time, the district has no concerns related to students behaving as anything but typical children. Representative Gertis contacted Superintendent Cheryl Burns to ask if there were any litter boxes for students on district campuses. Burns informed Rep. Gertis there were not, but as a courtesy to Rep. Gertis, Ms. Burns made the extra effort to walk the campus to confirm that there were no litter boxes." Is that your understanding of what happened?
She did confirm that there wasn't.
Essentially, after being accused the school had to waste its own time to look into this, and coming to the obvious conclusion that these claims were in fact false. Now, officially being called out on this, Jurtis has to backpedal by saying, I never claimed that this school had litter boxes. Yet, you are trying to pass a bill that claims that schools do have this. So, which is it? Also, Jurtis trying to play dumb here, claiming that he never said that particular school had litter boxes, also turns out to be kind of inaccurate because Representative Tallarico points out that particular school was in his layout for schools that supposedly had litter boxes in their bathrooms.
But she did confirm that there was a student identifying as exhibiting these non-human behaviors.
Jurtis then tries to distract from this obvious blunder that he made by saying, well, somebody claimed that somebody had identified as having non-human behaviors. So let's see how that goes.
I'm just reading from their minutes. At this time, the district has no concerns related to students behaving as anything but typical children.
And that's fine, but I'm talking about the conversation I had with her in November.
Well, she's rejecting that accusation that you're making.
And she can do that, but I know the conversation that I had with her.
Okay.
As we can see, Representative Tallarico then reads a report from a school that states that there is, in fact, no concern that students are acting other than human kids. In response to this, Jurtis literally says, I know the conversation I had. So essentially, this is a just trust me bro statement. And on top of that, he doesn't even really quote the claim. He just says, I know what I heard. So it kind of makes me wonder if it's even legitimate. The fact that Jurtis has claims and no actual reports is kind of making me think that this bill is based off of rumors and speculations, rather than actual confirmed reports, which I already suspected, but thank you for proving my suspicions to be true, Jurtis. Trying to bring the conversation back to confirming or denying that litter boxes are used in schools, Representative Tallarico then asks the question if any cases have been confirmed. Once again.
There.
Okay, and so I just want to ask the question again. Mm-hmm. Can you name a school where it has been confirmed that students are using litter boxes? This was at the top of your press release. This was mentioned when you introduced this bill, created quite a stir among public school educators across the state. And so I'm asking, can you name a school where it's been confirmed that there are litter boxes being provided to students?
For this purpose, no, I cannot on the litter box side, but okay. I can on the furry side.
So your tweet about this bill was flagged by the app itself under their community notes, and their fact check said, sensationalist claims about furries literally behaving as animals and receiving a comment such as litter boxes have been repeatedly debunked as hoaxes. Is that correct?
It was flagged on, community notes?
Okay. I find it concerning that these types of debunked conspiracy theories are being used by politicians at the highest levels of our government, including in this legislature, who know that they're incorrect. Are you aware that Governor Abbott said, quote, kids go to school dressed up as cats with litter boxes in their classrooms?
Sure.
Are you also aware that when the governor was asked by the Dallas Morning News to name a single school where this happened, he couldn't? And PolitiFact called this a pants on fire false claim started by online rumors?
Okay. Or do you want me to name a specific example?
I've asked if there's an example of litter boxes being provided to students.
And I answer that question, but we
So I guess my question then is, do you think it's a good use of our time to write laws based on debunked internet conspiracy theories?
Well, this isn't, this piece of legislation before us covers that among other things that are true.
There we go. Along with that, so the conspiracies, because mind you, he didn't correct Representative Tallarico by saying they weren't conspiracies, but so long as we have stuff in the bill that is true, it's okay? So does that mean the lie that you're presenting doesn't matter? Oh, I'm sorry. I mean the thing that you cannot confirm that is happening in schools, yet you choose to put it in a bill. Seriously, this guy Jurtis is so aware that the stuff in the bill is bullshit that he himself forgot to say that, oh wait guys, there's no conspiracies in the bill. Seriously, dude, you kind of showed your hand there. Once again, I am going to say that even if there is stuff in the bill that is true, you delegitimize the true things in the bill by putting a bunch of fictitious nonsense in it.
True. A whole host of other things that I'm more than happy to talk with you about.
I guess my concern is that instead of holding a hearing about student mental health, instead of holding a hearing about school closures across Texas, we are spending precious legislative time toward the end of this legislative session on a bill called the FURRIES Act. And honestly, Representative Gertis, this whole thing is just weird and honestly a little creepy. And I think that's the point, because this is all, in my opinion, a manufactured, debunked smear campaign against our Texas public schools.
Absolutely.
Now, this next part, I'm not going to say is true or not because I myself don't know that much about the issue. However, I do think that Representative Tallarico makes an excellent point by saying that this whole ridiculous conspiracy theory about litter boxes in schools is made to make Texas schools look worse than they actually are. Now, again, I don't know if that's true or not, but I do absolutely agree with the other statement he stated that this whole thing is an incredible waste of time, and their time could be used to help other actual issues instead of these non-existent ones. This whole situation is just truly pathetic and sad.
That is one of the reasons that I'm here, because we just want to help them have the tools to get some of the distractions out of the classroom so we can get back to teaching time and stop the distractions.
But Representative Gertis,
that's the bottom line.
Respectfully, the distractions you're talking about, the ones you use at the top of your press release, you just told me you can't name a single documented case of that actually happening.
After Jurtis gets this public dressing down from Representative Tallarico, Jurtis then tries once again to claim he has a report from somebody.
All we're trying to do is provide the tools that I was told they didn't have to stop this type of
We just went over the school in your district that you cited in your layout has come out and said that it's false, that there are no children acting as animals and there are no litter boxes on the campuses.
Well, in that conversation that I had with my superintendent, I took her at her word.
I would hope so.
Right.
And the fact that they had to come out, your own school district had to come out in their public school board meeting and debunk the false conspiracy theories that you were peddling is a problem.
Now, I don't know if Jurtis is absent-minded or he just wants to waste more time, but then Representative Tallarico then says that we've discussed that already. So once again, Representative Tallarico illustrates Jurtis's own school district had to come out and say that the claims and accusations he made against their school were all false. It's just truly incredible about the time that is being wasted on something that is so obviously not true is just staggering to me. And the fact that your own school district, which I guess in any circumstance should be your ally, had to come out and say that you were full of crap. It's kind of sad and hilarious at the same time. Since this video is getting rather lengthy, I believe I am going to cut it here and then make a part 2, so we can continuously see this beatdown that Jurtis is receiving. The next part of this, they are going to talk about some of the language that is used in the bill that is not litter box related. They go over the other claims that they make in the bill, and how those claims can have real-world consequences, which is kind of what I got into in my previous video, where innocent individuals can get into trouble. So I'll be seeing you soon in part 2. As we do at the end of every video, I'm going to ask you, what are your thoughts about all this? Do you think it's ridiculous to pass a bill based off of speculations, claims, and online rumors made up by trolls on the internet? Do you think that passing a bill illegitimizes actual issues that schools have to go through? Do you think that Jurtis is that misinformed? Or do you think he knows that everything he's saying is false? Or could it be both? Like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you soon. Hey, if you enjoy our content, maybe you would like to help us support our channel. Every little bit helps. I would also like to give a special shout out to the amazing artist who did the extraordinary character stills we used in this video. The ever incredible Bleptarts. Definitely check out their artwork if you get the chance. Also, if you're interested in the flittering thoughts that go upon in my brain, consider following us on Blue Sky. And thank you once again for your support.